I really appreciate you being part of this session because we are going to have change makers from Africa and change makers who are active in Africa who will actually present us with solutions. So without further delay, I'd like to welcome our first speaker. Her name is Grace Muganga. Please put your hands together for Grace Muganga. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Rita.
So you're the COO of Sustain Solar.
Yes.
We're so curious to hear what you've got to share with us. Do you want to make use of the pulse?
Thank you.
And then give us a presentation?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm just testing sound. I hope everyone can hear me well. Great, thank you so much. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers of the forum for inviting us. This is a great privilege to be part of the conversation. My name is Gracia, and I work for Sustain Solar. So I've organized it in a few slides just to give you a snapshot of what the company does. So Sustain Solar is essentially, we are a systems integrator. We are based in Cape Town, South Africa, and we cover 3 main sectors: off-grid solar, gas to power, and also battery energy storage systems. This is just the management team on the far right. Those are the 2 co-founders of the company, Tobias and Ames, and I, on the far right, I look after Sustain Solar, and my colleague Daniel looks after Sustain Storage. What do we do? We've been around for about 5 years now. We provide integrated, containerized, and cabinet-based turnkey systems, off-grid solar, solar PV, and battery energy storage systems. We've kind of standardized our product range based on the feedback that we've received. So we've got the box, which is a cabinet-based. We've got the compact, which is a 20-foot container, and we've got the extended, which is a 40-foot container. Application-wise, our systems are suitable. Primarily, we've worked with mini-grid developers, off-grid projects, but also hybrid/CNI, and also the humanitarian sector. These are just some of the clients that we've built and that we've worked with across the continent. Just in terms of track record, we've got our systems are scattered across about 11 countries. So in Southern Africa, we've covered Malawi, Lesotho, South Africa. In Eastern Africa, we've covered Uganda, Eastern DRC, Madagascar should have been in Southern Africa, Sierra Leone, Benin, etc. And then our sites up until now have been relatively small, so just below 100 kilowatt peak and 220 kilowatt hours. So why Sustain Solar? Most people in the mini-grid/rural electrification space, this would be preaching to the choir, essentially the technology. So why work with us? We are agnostic, so we can work with the technology package based on the client's budget, but also technical requirement, timing. We've optimized our production process, so between 8 to 12 weeks. That's how our lead times, dependent on the equipment available. The installation support, so we do provide remote monitoring, and we're currently developing our own in-house tool. And then what's most exciting here is we've put together a construction finance facility specifically targeted at the mini-grid sector and developers that have been pre-approved for RBFs. This is more details about the facility. So one of the challenges in the mini-grid sector, they are not, there's a long list. You could elaborate and spend an hour on it, but access to finance, long lead times, et cetera. And that's one of the aspects that we as a company, we consider ourselves not just a supplier to the mini-grid developers, but actually a partner. We've put together a construction finance facility. And so it's a deferred payment model. Qualification criteria number 1 is you have to be a mini-grid developer having been pre-approved by RBF, whether it's BGFA, whether it's UEF, or whether it's, let's say, REP in Nigeria. And we essentially, the security is our system. We can pre-finance our system, which is the generation unit, and it's about 40 to 50% of the CapEx required. That lowers the upfront CapEx requirement on the developer side. We've tested it, so we've got 3 pilots. The first one was in Lesotho with One Power, a Power Africa grantee. 3 of the 7 systems we built were pre-financed, and it was seed funds from our funders. The second are health clinics in Uganda with Equatorial Power, also Power Africa funded RBF. We pre-financed the cabinet base for electrification of health clinics. And then the last one is a project currently en route to Sierra Leone. That's one of the UEF grantees. These are just project examples. This is one of our very first designs in Malawi for a school. This is in Uganda, Utility 2.0 with Equatorial Power. This is one of the 7 containers in Lesotho with One Power, Power Africa, and this is one of the latest one in Madagascar with Africa Green Tech. So that's me in a nutshell. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and I look forward to engaging more.
Grace Muganga, everyone. Gracia, I have a question for you. Do you want to come in the middle?
Okay.
So we can all see you better.
Very intimidating, I must say.
No need, because I would like to congratulate you first and foremost for your influential position to drive change.
Thank you. I was doing that alone, but
of course not.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, the congratulations comes to you. I'm wondering, what will it take? What is needed in order for your organization to scale across the whole continent?
So when people talk about scale, I get super excited, we get super excited. That's what we've been waiting for. So if you look at the number, we've built about 30 plus systems over 5 years. And then you shift the problem. It's SDG 7. I don't know how many thousands of mini-grid needs to be built in the next couple of years. You look at the numbers of, let's say, lack of access to modern forms of energy in the DRC, Nigeria, get excited about the numbers. And so what's standing in the way, it's scale and it's speed. Mm-hmm. And then it's access, right? So Sustained Solar, in a way, we have been built to address the scale and the speed issue. Mm-hmm. We've got access to manufacturing facilities in Cape Town. We are very excited about where the sector is at the moment. So if you look at some of the, let's say, rural electrification programs that are being developed in Nigeria, in the DRC, in Sierra Leone, in Benin, mm-hmm. these are all not 1, 2, 3, but these are multi-sites being awarded at once. Mm-hmm. Yes, it takes quite a long time, and I think that's the frustration of the developers, but that means that, you get an order of 10, you get an order of 20, no developer has a team of 40 engineers to deploy at once. Mm-hmm. And that's where, we start to make sense. So when you say what will it take to scale, one is, on the regulatory side, licenses, concessions, how long it takes for developers to get all the paperwork in order to be able to access this facility. Mm-hmm. The second is, RBFs have sort of a fundamental instrument, right, in unlocking the sector. But at the same time, the length from being awarded to being able to access the grant, it's anything from 12 months to more. I think We've seen people, 3 years in still waiting to be awarded that. So being able to almost streamline the due diligence process across different instruments allows, I think, sites and developers to deploy faster, and then working with companies like us. So we're not trying to create a monopoly, but I believe that the scale of the problem is so big that each one of us have a role to play, and we would contribute probably 5% of, or 10% or 20%, I don't know what the, we're very ambitious, we're not shy to say that, of what the problem will be, That
reminds me again what we reiterated in the morning session, together we are forced to be reckoned with. So I can hear a close calling where everyone should come together in order to lobby change in the regulation. That's what I'm hearing from what you're saying, Gracia.
Correct. And then just to finish, because the instrument that we're putting together, I think there's a few different construction finance facilities being put together, some local currencies, which is very attractive, and I think one of the key takeaway from the Africa Climate Summit was also relooking at climate finance instruments for the continent and making sure that they are fit for purpose. The construction finance facility that I showed, we are in the last stages, and by the last stages I'm talking about weeks, not months, of scaling that facility from a pilot to now a $10 million facility. Very excited about all the RBF programs and talking to a number of grantees, looking forward to deploying that Q1 next year.
Thank you very much for highlighting that point. Okay. Before you sit down, I would like you to join one of these chairs, because I still have a collective question. Thank you, Gracia. Next, I'd like to welcome Nicolas Mirawals, who's going to present us solutions for the built environment. Please put your hands together for Nicolas Mirawals. Nicolas, you're the CEO of ORIS Material Intelligence. We look forward to your presentation.
Thank you so
much. The stage is yours.
We are in Zimbabwe. I'm bringing you in Zimbabwe now. It was almost 10 years ago, in 2014, I was attending a road conference here regarding road maintenance, and I was struck by a consistent comment from participants. They had no fund, they have no finance for maintaining their roads, and even when they had some, those were poorly designed and poorly executed for most of the time, so lasting very, very little. I'm Nicolas Mirawals. I've spent 30 years in this road industry, and I'm today the CEO of ORIS. And I'm talking about roads here. Roads is a facility to access school, to access jobs, to access farms, to get to healthcare facilities. So roads are really essential. And those people in those countries, they need those roads as much as we probably forgot that we have them already here. So this is really critical. But roads, we are probably not road experts in the room, so let me introduce quickly the topic. Traditionally, roads is about not avocado, but about mechanical performance. And mechanical performance is also now connected with environmental performance, social performance, and freight and food performance. Here to illustrate, there is a study that was made by the European Investment Bank in South Africa. And really, it was a research program analyzing the relation between freight and road condition, with very, very accurate study. They've put sensors into the avocado seeds to measure the vibrations of the roads and to consider the impact of those vibrations. The result speaks for itself. 40% was the product loss in certain conditions with this road network. So you see that this 40% probably contributes a lot to the product loss at large in the agricultural field. So I want to not to drive you too much into cuisine now, and we go to the finance side, because road is not a niche market, it's a big market, 500 billion investment every year, out of which only 10% is going into rural roads and agricultural roads, even less than 10%. And this is a problem considering that 70% of the road network is rural roads and remote areas. So 70% versus 10%. And that's triggering another problem. And here I'm going to this number. The World Bank, together with some experts, created an index called the Rural Access Index. And this index is measuring how much of the population is living over 2 kilometers away from what we call an all-season road. 2 kilometers away from an all-season road, and this is 1 billion people on this planet. Imagine yourself living 2 kilometers away from your road, the one that you're taking every morning. That might create some problems. So that's why we created the Roads for People Fund. That's why we decided, together with UNIDO and ORIS, to create a roads for people fund. This is an initiative to rebalance from large infrastructure to smaller infrastructure. This is a very innovative scheme that will reinject some money in rural roads from the optimization on large projects. This is why we need technology here, because if I don't need to introduce UNIDO in this room, I might spend a few seconds on ORIS. ORIS is a tech platform that aims at really optimizing the road design, not only with regard to cost, but also with regard to material consumptions, to carbon emission, resilience to climate change, and other parameters. And this is triggering and generating quite some savings. So the program is quite simple. It's in 3 steps. Step 1, the countries engaging with us on the program will have their large infrastructure finance optimized with ORIS. And step 2, this optimization will partially go into a fund. This fund will be strictly dedicated to finance rural roads so that we start rebalancing between large to smaller infrastructure. Step 3 is to have more people joining, to have more donors and more partners joining the program. And this will then restart and re-kick off the financing of this rural road, which is definitely a problem. So I will just end with this call to action. Please join us into, I have one more, I guess, here. I had one more. Join us into this program, because whichever organization you are representing in this room, there are multiple benefits to this type of program, because be it from the private or from the public side, we can see the economic development, of course, out of those rural roads. There is also a social impact, very important, and we aim at having this social impact bigger and bigger. Food security is obviously at stake as well, so food security could be a good driver for spreading out the message. And maybe finally, just politically, just from a human perspective as well, just let's offer the population the capacity to live decently with the right mobility on their living place. So this is the ambition of this program at large. Thank you for your attention.
Nicolas, as a tech company, the first thing that comes into my mind is that data is the new currency. What do you say to that? Is there truth to that?
I definitely agree to that. Data is so important. You've seen the number and the complexity of the data that we need to consolidate and articulate, so that, as I said, from mechanical only, we are now embracing so many parameters, including food, transportation, and so many others. So this data is, the complexity is also in the fact that the data is partly local and partly global. When we talk about climate change and resilience to climate change for the network to last longer, then we need to integrate a lot of global data and global information. So we need a system. This is very clear. We need a system because we cannot keep going as we do, wasting not only avocado, we waste some big money here in this sector because it's not optimized as it should. And the data is the fuel of this optimization, and we just combine local and global data with very systematic approach, very proven scientifically as well. So that delivers good results in terms of optimization, really.
Thank you. Whilst you was talking, I was thinking, actually, I'll be curious to learn from you as well. What would it take to scale, or what is needed in order for your organization to scale?
I think we need ambition to scale. We just need ambitions and commitment and countries to go for it, to commit to do things a bit differently, and get the benefits out of it. And we have a few countries already in this space, and thanks to UNIDO also collaboration.
Would you tell us which countries, or is that on the wraps?
No, I think it's perfectly fine. We will get started with Ivory Coast, and Tanzania is on the list as well, and we will welcome any country to come to this adventure with us. This is a win-win-win situation anyway, so it's just a matter of ambition.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. If you could join Gracia on the stage there. Thank you. Yes. So our next speaker will be joining us online. Let's move on to explore a solution to powering sustainable agriculture. CEO of Cold Hubs, Nemeka Ike-Onu. Nemeka, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you, and I hope you can see me and hear me very well.
We can't see you, but we can see your slides. So do you want to go ahead with your presentation?
It will be my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Nemeka Ike-Onu, and I will be talking about cold hubs and the work we do using solar-powered cold storages to reduce food spoilage. The problem we are trying to tackle in Nigeria is really the problem of food spoilage due to lack of cold storage at key points along the food supply chain. And this problem really, if you travel on Nigerian highways, you will see large amount of fresh fruit and vegetables typically dumped on the roadside. This is because farmers do not have the ability to store it, preserve, and then extend the shelf life. So in 2015, we started Cold Hubs as a company that designs, builds, operates, and also maintains solar-powered walk-in cold rooms in farm clusters, in produce collection centers, and also in outdoor food markets. The goal there is to use these cold stations to actually extend the shelf life of food from 2 days to as well as 21 days, and it became very successful. In the course of deploying these cold rooms, the goal is really to use the cold stations to extend the shelf life of food. But quickly we recognized that the volume of 3-ton capacity which we deployed was really small. So we started expanding to 100-ton capacity cold rooms entirely powered by solar for large-scale fresh fruit and vegetable collection centers, food markets, and also farm clusters. And we also were able to pioneer the concept of cooling as a service by charging farmers, retailers, and wholesalers the equivalent of 26 US cents to store 120 kilogram plastic crate of fresh produce, or $1.32 US per night for storage of meat or fish, as the case may be. So over the past 6 years, we've gradually deployed 58 cold hubs. Last year, we saved 2.4 million kilograms of food from spoilage, serving more than 7,000 farmers, and 80 jobs created for women who work as our hub operators, overseeing loading and offloading of food, and also 2.4 million kilograms of CO2 saved by running these units entirely on solar with no need for diesel generators. Users can also connect with Cold Hub service, downloading an app, the Cold Connect, to identify the closest cold storage, order refrigerated transportation services, or observe the cooling temperature inside the cold rooms. The team behind Cold Hubs include myself as CEO, supported by a wide range of skilled men and women, C-level suit and mid-management. Together, we receive incredible advisory support from a rich experienced board. And we've tried to raise financing over the years from both impact investors, multi and bilateral organizations, and traditional foundations. So I just wanted to use this quickly to present the work we are doing at Cold Hubs using solar-powered cold storages to reduce food spoilage. And I'll be happy to engage and answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nemeka. So if you have any questions, please note them, because once I have all the presentations, then it'll be great to engage with some of the potential questions that you may have, rather than me dominating the conversation. Mecca, I was thinking to myself, during your presentation, can you give us an example of a specific challenge that you address with a specific stakeholder or user of cold hubs?
Yeah, one of the specific challenges we experienced was really segregating fresh and vegetable storage with meat and fish. Initially we were built in food markets, and traders, vendors brought all manner of produce that needed to be stored. Cross storage of products was difficult because of the different temperature ranges. So we now build cold storages for fresh fruit and vegetables, and then cold storages exclusively for meat and fish at sub-zero temperature.
So it's more focused on food rather than any other perishable item like bio-related materials that could be perishable?
No, yet we've not entered into the bio sector. There is a lot of food to be saved. We started storing milk recently, and we are trying to build out milk collection centers in Nigeria and have cold storages. The need for cold storage is huge. It's massive across the country, and we are just pioneering it in a country of 240 million people.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation. Now, last but not least, thank you, I would like to welcome Mike Buendera, who is the R&D lead at Octavio Carbon. Please put your hands together for Mike Buendera. The stage is yours. Oh, thank you very much, Nicholas.
Hi, everyone. As introduced, my name is Mike Buendera. I'm the research and development lead at a company called Octavia Carbon, and we're a direct air capture company. More to that as I continue with my presentation. The main thing of what I want to talk about today is carbon dioxide removal, and more specifically carbon dioxide removal in the context of Africa. Both in how Africa, we are known as victims of climate change, right? I, for instance, come from Kenya. I grew up in the Kenya highlands. In an alternate life, I'd actually be one of those long-distance marathon runners. But apart from the point, ever since around 2018, Kenya has actually gone through one of its worst droughts. And this affects a lot. And thinking about solutions of mitigating these effects and how we can, chime into them is really key. And a habitable planet needs carbon removal. I think one of the representatives from the International Panel for Climate Change actually talked on this, right? That as much as we need to decarbonize, we also need to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere to get to our targets. And I want to more specifically talk about engineered carbon dioxide removal, right? And engineered carbon dioxide removal is more or less technology, bringing in technology to actually remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and then finding solutions of permanently storing it to ensure that it doesn't continue affecting the atmosphere. And engineered carbon dioxide actually has, advantages. Like it could give you high quality carbon dioxide removals that actually are stored permanently for quite a large number of years. But it's important to actually say that engineered carbon dioxide removal is not an alternative to nature-based solutions of carbon dioxide removal like reforestation and such. It's just a complement to actually get to our targets. And so in terms of in Africa's context, CDR, carbon dioxide removal, CDR in short, is actually really key because Africa has a lot of the essential, the fundamentals put together to actually scale up carbon dioxide removal, right? We have an abundance in renewables. For context, I'm from Kenya, and Kenya we have a lot of geothermal energy. We have a lot of wind and HEP. As a country, we are just about 90% renewable, which can also tie into effectively scaling up the tech. Technology, growth in technology and scaling up technology also creates job creation. And you know, Africa has a huge amount of its population being below 25 years. And coming up with solutions and trying to scale up solutions in Africa will also scale up people to actually enable them to, you know, live decent lives. And environmental justice is also something really key. The fact that Africa, having not contributed a lot to climate change, but we're the ones who are actually facing the adverse effects of the same. And yeah, so in terms of scaling up carbon dioxide removal or engineered carbon dioxide removal, there are many constraints. First, on the technological sense, engineered CDR requires a lot of energy, and it also requires storage, you know, carbon dioxide, permanent carbon dioxide storage. You actually need to be aware of, if I capture CO2 from the atmosphere, how do I ensure this carbon dioxide is sequestered permanently? And also price. I mean, price is, for anything that you're trying to scale up, you have to be aware of the levelized cost that actually comes with it. And there are also constraints that are not just, you know, tech related. Like in the context of Africa, narrative is something really key. You know, historically, Africa has been seen as a high-risk place. No one thinks about Africa as a place to actually both build up and scale up novel technologies. And this could also tie to the access to finance. I mean, we, historically speaking, for example, setting up shop in Africa requires you to pay higher interest rates for debt and such, and also regulation. Regulation for any new field of tech is actually important, because this will actually tie towards whether the tech that you're trying to deploy actually hits its targets, and whether there's no sort of convolution or vagueness in terms of the deployment. And yeah, I'll talk a bit about direct air capture. And as I said, direct air capture is just using machines to filter CO2 from the atmosphere. And I think the simplest way to put it is like, these are mechanical trees, right? And it involves like having a chemical filter that's selective to CO2 from the atmosphere, takes up CO2, and then you actually input energy into this chemical filter to release this carbon dioxide, and then store it permanently in any sort of formation. So in the case of a large part of East Africa, this would be underground rock formations. And yeah, Africa actually solved some of these really important constraints to engineered carbon dioxide removal. One of them in Kenya, for example, is geothermal. We have access to geothermal, not only in terms of clean and renewable electricity or energy, but also in terms of waste heat. The process of the direct air capture requires around 85% of its energy is actually heat energy, and having access to such waste heat sources is actually really key. Same thing to geology. You actually need geology that can permanently sequester carbon dioxide, which such a geology is actually rich in the East African Rift Valley. Basaltic rock formations are actually really abundant in the crusts of the Rift Valley. And these rock formations, they're porous rocks, which are alkaline in nature, and they can actually take up CO2 and mineralize carbon dioxide permanently to ensure that there is no re-emission back into the atmosphere. And yeah, talent, the fact that we have a huge population of young people who are really willing to, take up new ideas, grow technologies, because, to grow any technology, what you need is the minds. And Africa is actually ripe for that. And yeah, so just to continue, in terms of other factors that we need to think about, like narrative, I talked about how narrative is key, and it's one of the constraints that actually ties towards our funding. And being able to show that scaling up carbon dioxide removal actually has core benefits. Like I talked about job creation, I talked about environmental justice and such, and also the fact that a lot of countries in Africa actually have a track record for scale, technology scale. When you think about solutions of clean cooking, when you think about solutions of e-mobility that are actually ramping up, it actually, proves the point of Africa being a place for technological development. Financing can actually be solved by diversifying capital stacks, right? We don't just need to kind of constrain financing for large scale up of technologies into expensive debt. Countries can actually help form mechanisms that help finance the deployment of such technologies in various stages. In early development, countries could actually have development finance institutions that actually help in bridging or kind of like scaling up the technologies in regions such as Africa and such, and also regulation, which is actually really important. Carbon markets are one of the key areas when you think about regulation, and as much as you're storing, CO2 permanently in the atmosphere, underground, being able to tap into the carbon markets, which actually, for a project developer like us, would actually really help in terms of providing cheap financing and just catalyzing a field that is really, really important and that would actually help scale it up. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my presentation, and I'm open to receive any questions.
Thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation. Thank you. What I'm interested in is the direct air capture. How does it directly relate to commercializing technology? Can you give me an insight on that?
Yeah, so direct air capture, I should actually elaborate, is technology itself, right? And this is actually what you're trying to commercialize, right? And a lot of what I was talking about is how we can actually, the factors that we can bring in to scale up direct air capture as a technology. So it's in itself, it's a technology that needs to be commercialized.
Yeah. Thanks for breaking that down for me. So is there anyone that has any questions? Because there's some microphones, 3 microphones along the aisle. If you don't have no question, then I'm going to carry on because I've got plenty. Yes, please. Is there someone? Oh, the person's getting up. All right. So let me just ask you, please, come and have a seat. So I've just got one common question for all 3 of you. I don't think Mecca is with us at the moment. But what would you ask from world leaders gathering at the COP28 to scale up solutions like the one that you presented? Gracia, on to you with this one.
Thanks a lot, Rita. So I think part of it was already highlighted this morning, and it was about, one, renewing our commitment to sustainability, to development. The second was scaling our ambition, because we know we're not going fast enough. So when world leaders gather at COP28 in two months' time, more or less, my ask as a company that represents the energy access sector is looking at the commitments in terms of the scale, looking at the commitment in terms of the instruments that are being used, and looking at the commitment in terms of, let's say, structuring instruments that are actually accessible to the intended users, which are the developers and or the communities. Because we are working on a construction finance instrument, I'll highlight that as one of those innovative facilities that can unlock significant scale and speed. And anyone that's interested in helping us scale further beyond this first round of fundraising is more than welcome to speak with us. So thank you
very much, Gracia. Yeah. On to you, Nicolas.
I think I would go in the direction of the procurement, the public procurement. When it comes to roads and infrastructure, it's very much public procurement related. And here, not only we should talk about sustainability, carbon reduction, resilience, but we should really embed that into the procurement systems. So to have a consensus on the fact that not only the price, actually the price, by the way, is not always competing with the decarbonation. Sometimes it goes the same way. So, but to have a balanced approach in terms of public procurement with carbon, resilience, cost, of course, and other social parameters to come, and have this effective, which is not the case for now.
So more efficient financial instruments, efficient procurement. And what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I'd also add to my counterparts here, two things, financing and regulations, right? We actually need to open up and diversify financing that goes to project development in Africa. And there are a lot of ways countries can actually think about this. For instance, we are funded by some catalytic project aiders who actually, like we have a fund called Catalyst Fund, who are actually funded by the UK government, who help early stage development, early stage research and development companies like us to actually scale up products. And you know, once you're even thinking about scaling up, you can actually have governments look into development finance institutions that actually help in funding or scaling up, or even and help de-risking such projects that need to scale up quite quickly, and also being more and more being more and more serious or proactive when it comes to regulations, because regulations also help de-risk things for investors. Investors are really key when you're trying to scale up any technology, and especially a novel technology like direct air capture. You actually need to have regulation in place that enables people to actually, come into the field with a high level of confidence.
So to lift regulatory blocks, or that the regulatory matches the pace of the technological evolution. I see it in both ways almost. Now, Mecca, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Yes, so I will pose the question to you, in case you didn't hear it. What would you ask from world leaders who are gathering at the COP28 to scale up solutions like the one that you presented?
I think we need large ticket financing, to be channeled to solutions and companies who are at the point of scale, so they can quickly scale. Large ticket financing is essential to take these solutions from one country to another country, or even take it from one location to another location within the country. So my call will be that public financing should also be channeled to companies at the point of scale in large ticket financing.
Thank you very much for joining. Please put your hands together for our change makers making moves in Africa. Thank you for joining us. I hope you're still remaining for the next couple of days, because I'm pretty sure that people would like to mingle with you. So please have your seats.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I'd like to seize the opportunity to welcome my co-moderator. Perhaps he's here at the back. No, he isn't. He's lost, because we have another panel coming up. This focus is, however, on the change makers of women. But I am not sure. Can somebody give me an update, what the update is in this regard? Just one moment. There's been maybe a slight change in the program, which I am not aware of. Sorry? Thank you. So I've been informed that there is a clip. It's a solution clip, or a clip demonstrating a solution coming up right now. Let's have a look what it's about. What a great video to remind us on the options and opportunities that we can tap into. Now we're going to call for an informal break of about 10 minutes, and we will have the next session of a group of female change makers making a difference on the topic of energy and climate solutions.